The story begins by introducing the Graham family, where Annie lives with her mother Alan, her husband Steve, their son Peter, and only daughter Charlie. After Alan suddenly passes away, we see Annie's family attending her mother's funeral. While giving the death speech, Annie notices many unfamiliar faces, people she had never seen before. During the speech, we see Charlie making strange sounds with her mouth while drawing a picture in her personal diary. Around Alan's neck, we see a strange kind of pendant. A similar pendant is also seen around Annie's neck. Annie is a miniature artist by profession and was working on a new project. Later, we see Charlie lying in bed, feeling downhearted because she was very close to Alan, who had raised her with motherly care since childhood. Charlie asks Annie who will take care of her now that Alan is gone. Annie gently strokes her head and says, "I will take care of you." But then Charlie suddenly asks another strange question: who will look after her after Annie dies? Annie replies, "Your elder brother Peter will look after you." Charlie tells her mother that Alan always wished she were a boy instead of a girl, thinking that life would have been much better that way. Annie is slightly surprised but puts Charlie to sleep and goes to Alan's room, where she finds a book. Upon opening the book, she finds a note written by her mother, which reads, "Sorry, Annie. I couldn't do anything for you all. But our sacrifices will never go in vain." The season changes to summer, and we see Charlie at school. During class, a pigeon suddenly crashes into the window and dies. After class, Charlie cuts the pigeon's neck with a pair of scissors and puts it in her shirt pocket. Right then, she sees a woman smiling at her from across the road, the same woman she had drawn in her notebook a few days earlier. At this point in the story, it becomes clear that Charlie has always been a little odd. Later, Steve receives a phone call. A man tells him that Alan's body has disappeared from the grave, someone has taken it out. Steve is shocked but doesn't tell Annie about it. Annie was attending counseling sessions, where she used to share a lot about her life. According to her, every member of her family was mentally unstable, and it all began with her mother. Annie believes that her mother secretly practiced rituals in an attempt to summon someone else's spirit into her brother's body, which eventually led to his death. Even after Peter was born, Alan always kept him away from Annie. In fact, Alan herself used to breastfeed Charlie. In a later scene, Charlie is seen sitting in her room. Suddenly, a strange light falls on her, and she looks toward the window. Outside, she sees someone seemingly performing a ritual while sitting in a fire. As Charlie moves toward the figure, Annie pulls her back inside the room. Next, we see Peter. He was always of a sad, gloomy nature. One night, his friends invite him to a party. When Peter tells Annie about it, she instructs him to take Charlie with him so that he wouldn't end up doing drugs or anything else inappropriate. At the party, Peter leaves his sister alone, and Charlie eats a piece of cake made with nuts, which she was allergic to. Due to the allergic reaction, she starts having trouble breathing. Peter rushes her into the car and drives toward the hospital. As her breathing worsens, Peter rolls down the window. Charlie sticks her head out to get some air. At that moment, Peter sees a dead deer lying in the middle of the road and swerves the car to the right. Suddenly, Charlie's head hits a light pole on the side of the road and gets decapitated. Peter is so shocked by what just happened that he drives straight home with Charlie's headless body without stopping the car and goes to sleep. The next day, Annie breaks down in grief after hearing about this horrific death. Charlie's funeral is held. After this incident, no one in the family speaks to each other, and everyone starts keeping to themselves. One day, after attending her counseling session, Annie meets a classmate named Joanna. Joanna tells Annie that her son and grandson had recently drowned and died, and she hopes Annie could help her cope with the trauma. Joanna then invites Annie to her house. The next day, when Annie visits Joanna's home, she notices a doormat exactly like the one she has at her own house. Before she can make sense of it, Joanna opens the door and welcomes her inside. While talking, Annie reveals that she used to sleepwalk. One night, while sleepwalking, she almost set her 2 children on fire. Luckily, she regained consciousness just in time and saved them from danger. But since that incident, Annie's relationship with her children had started to deteriorate. That night, during dinner, Annie had an argument with Peter. Because Peter blamed his mother entirely for Charlie's death. According to Peter, if his mother hadn't forced Charlie to go to the party that day, the incident might not have happened. The next day, outside the grocery store, Joanna met Annie again. There, Joanna told Annie that she had learned about a ritual through which she was able to connect with her son and grandson. Following this, she took Annie to her house and showed her how she connected with her son and grandson. Joanna kept insisting Annie should try to connect with Charlie through this ritual. She also mentioned that while performing the ritual, one must keep something that belonged closely to Charlie in front of them. After witnessing all this, Annie became emotional and convinced everyone at home to try the ritual too. But as soon as the ritual began, strange things started happening, and eventually, Annie began speaking in Charlie's voice. Peter got extremely frightened upon seeing this. Just then, Steve splashed water on Annie's face, and she regained consciousness. The next day, while attending class at school, Peter noticed a shadowy light following him. And when he looked toward the glass, he saw his own reflection smiling back at him. Then suddenly, the strange sound that once came from Charlie's mouth unknowingly came from his own. Terrified, Peter rushed out of the classroom. After that, we see some strange supernatural activities described in Charlie's diary. Meanwhile, Annie felt a presence in her room and suspected that it might be happening because of Charlie's unnatural death. So, she threw Charlie's diary into the fire. But as soon as she did that, her own body caught on fire. She tried to put out the flames, but the fire only kept growing. Becoming suspicious, she pulled the book out of the fire, and strangely, the flames on her body extinguished. The next day, she went to Joanna's house to meet her. But as Joanna wasn't home, Annie went inside and found the house filled with lit candles. From the look of the room, she realized that some satanic ritual had been performed there. Then, she saw a photo of Peter placed inside a circle of candles. Frightened, Annie rushed back home and began checking her mother's belongings. She found a book, and every page had a strange symbol on it. Even a locket with the same symbol was around her mother's neck. When she opened one of the books, she found information about a demon named Paimon. Paimon is the god of mischief and one of the 8 kings of hell. And he prefers to possess a male body. Here, the real mystery starts to unfold. From the book, Annie learns that her mother had planned to place another spirit into Annie's brother's body. That spirit was none other than Paimon. And after her brother's death, that's why her mother became so obsessed with Peter. She also finds a photo that reveals Joanna was actually her mother's friend and was also involved in this entire ritual. But why Alan wanted to do all this will be revealed at the end of the video. Then, in the upstairs basement, Annie finds her mother Alan's headless body, and the walls are covered with Paimon's symbol. She couldn't understand how her mother's body ended up there. And that's why, at the beginning of the movie, Steve had received a phone call saying Alan's body had gone missing. After this, we see Peter sitting in his classroom, and suddenly he hears Charlie's voice. Right after that, Peter becomes possessed. He bangs his head hard on the desk, causing his nose to bleed. Steve takes him home, and seeing Peter's condition, Annie becomes terrified. This time, she tells Steve about everything that had happened. She also says that no matter what, they need to burn that diary. But Steve refuses to believe any of it and says they should report everything to the police. Right then, Annie throws Charlie's diary into the fire. And Steve's whole body catches on fire and he dies on the spot. Immediately afterward, Annie also becomes possessed. And when Peter comes downstairs and sees all this, he stands there in shock. The next moment, Annie starts running toward Peter to kill him. So now it becomes clear that Annie herself was possessed by Paimon. Peter runs to the attic and locks himself inside. Meanwhile, Annie starts banging her head violently against the wall. After a while, everything becomes quiet, and Peter notices drops of blood falling on him. When he looks up, he sees his mother slitting her own throat. Shocked, when he looks forward, he sees several naked men and women standing there. As soon as he sees this, Peter jumps out the window and falls unconscious. Right after that, we see a glowing orb-like light entering Peter's body. After some time, when he regains consciousness, he sees his mother's headless body floating into the treehouse. Peter then walks into the treehouse and sees all the naked people bowing before him. In front of them is a statue with Charlie's severed head placed on it. And below that lie the headless bodies of Alan and Annie. Now Joanna comes forward, places a crown on Peter's head, and says, "Welcome, King Paimon." And everyone present bows their heads before him. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on more videos like this. Thanks for watching.